This is Gone Racin, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
And the green flag is out. Back here on Gone Racing again this week. I think they introduced us, Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan. We couldn't hear the promo this time. But, hey, it's great to be back in the studio with you. I almost forgot what you look like.
I appreciate it. It's great to be back here. I just realized as we came on air that I forgot to change shirts this morning.
A little free advertising for City Light Shine.
This was an accident, VSiN. I promise. I was doing something else. I got the right hat.
He's got the right hat. Well, look, Brendan owns like 5 different companies, so it's very easy for him. He wears a different shirt every day of the week for one of the companies.
It's just like racing. I don't have a wardrobe. All I have is different logoed polo shirts because that's what I've had to do my whole life. And everybody makes fun of me because I don't know how to dress myself. I go, listen, just what am I wearing that day? And that's what I have to do.
When was the last time you bought a shirt that you wear?
Well, I always have to buy South Point shirts because I come here and forget the right shirts, and so I have to go to the gift shop.
You don't just go to Sally's office and say, hey, I need a shirt?
Yeah, I go. See, when you go to that well too many times, you have to go to the well in the gift shop. And by the way, Ruth Hall, who has run our gift shop since I was 3 years old, Ruth's still here. I think Ruth makes more money in the gift shop than the casino does. I bought a Greg Norman polo shirt with South Point on it not too long ago. I'm not going to say the price, but dear goodness, I still give her
when I get the line from Sally, I gave my last one to Brendan. I'm kind of like, oh, okay.
Anyway, hi, Mr. Motley.
Hello.
Hi.
It's racing time. We're excited about this week because we're going to Chicago. But before we can get to the home,
I'm excited about wrapping up last week.
Right. Before we get to sweet home Chicago, we're going to home of country music, Nashville, where we were last week. Ross Chastain gets a breakthrough. I know that made you excited because it gets you one driver close to making it more than 16 winners this year.
And also, who had Ross Chastain in the group?
You cleaned up on us with the picks last week. We're all going to acknowledge that.
Whoa.
We're going to acknowledge.
Look, you get your last segment to brag.
Right. It's what the fourth segment is for.
No. This whole first segment, which is recap of Nashville. Hey, Brad Keselowski. Who's the guy that always picks Brad Keselowski? Who's the guy? What? Isn't that the Pit Crew's main guy?
Picker. Yep. They did not pick him last week.
As Dominic Toretto once said, we're a family. So I'm helping you win your bets by getting you to love Brad Keselowski.
I'm just saying. I could not win a bet till the regular season. I'm still going to be positive.
Well, Brendan thinks he was the big winner last week, but the big winner last week was Ross Chastain.
Yes,
he came in. He was 11-1 to win that race, so it got us a double-digit winner there, plus 300 for a top 3. He won Group B, plus 280. He had a head-to-head against Denny Hamlin, plus 115. He brought Chevy home at minus 105. Third career victory for Ross, but he also kind of swept the Cup weekend. He won his first career pole en route to winning the race. It was a huge deal, too, because you had Justin Marks is from the Nashville area there. You know, it's kind of hometown for him.
Well, they got Tootsie's on Suarez's car.
Tootsie's on Suarez's car.
They always have a bit. And they had a music guy on. I mean, it was a big deal for that team to come back on. And remember, we've been talking. He was on a schneid, right? Ever since the sit-down where Justin said, we got to calm down a little.
Which Justin says it didn't really go down quite that way. There was some talk about it this weekend.
A month ago, he said it went down that way. Justin is an old driver. Let's get this straight because he's racing this weekend. Justin's an old driver, and Justin is as full of poop as anybody else. He says what he needs when it matches the deal. When he needed to say that he had to have that talk with Ross, he had the talk with Ross. When he wins, he says, I didn't have that talk with Ross.
Yeah, well, I know one thing. Ross was pretty darn good. Truex came in second, really didn't have anything for him. But speaking of Martin Truex Jr., there's the hottest guy in the sport right now.
Once again, I will freely admit I may be kicking your butts in the picks, but is there a minus number of points I get for having the worst pick? And we're only in the 15th race or whatever, 18th race of the year. Worst pick of the year?
It's minus 50.
Minus
50.
Minus 50 points?
Yes, minus 50 points.
Well, I might be able to make it up because I'm close enough already.
I know.
But
I feel like
I think actually that still puts me ahead of you, even if I'm minus 50.
I kind of feel like Wyatt keeps moving the start-finish line on you there.
Yeah, well, that's okay because the worst pick of the year was me saying the biggest disappointment this season was going to be Martin Truex Jr. Martin, I owe you like dinner at Michael's because that was the most god-awful pick, I think, in the history of our sport.
Well, we take a look at the top 10. Probably only one really big surprise here, but Martin Truex Jr., he was plus 200 for a top 3. Denny Hamlin also plus 200 for a top 3. Chase Elliott, a lot of people thought this was a race he really needed to win because he'd been so good at Nashville. He did come in 4th, had a fairly strong run. Only big surprise here, and it was a pleasant surprise, Eric Jones with Legacy Motor Club placing 8th in this race. It's been a rough year for Legacy. Ever since I really think they made the announcement that they were moving to Toyota next year, I'm sure they haven't really been involved in many of Chevy's meetings going forward the rest of the year. Also, A.J. Allmendinger coming in with the 10th, a good run for Kaulig Racing. It was a good weekend for A.J. Allmendinger. He also won the Xfinity race on Saturday. But I need a little shout out to our buddy Riley Herbst. He was the top finishing Xfinity car, best career finish there, finished second. I happened to be standing by his pit box for the last 15 laps of the race and saw his dad Troy and talked to Riley after the race, and they were pretty excited to say the least.
I was very happy with him on the second to last restart, and I was very unhappy with him on the last restart. But really proud of Riley. But I mean, let's go back. I mean, AJ Allmendinger. A good strong. And how about Kaulig Racing? Second. I mean, Justin Haley qualified second. Now, didn't have a good race, but still, Kaulig cars showing speed, and that's a good sign for this weekend because of what we think when we think of road course racing. We think AJ Allmendinger, so they've got speed, but some Christopher Bell, good run. Eric Jones, that team needed that good run more than any team needs a good run. That was finally a good run for them.
Well, take a quick look at our standings now. We're up to 11 different winners.
Yep.
We're close. I think there's a few guys probably who could get across the finish line. Certainly with we got three road course street courses left here in the regular season with Chicago, Indy, and Watkins Glen. Plus we've got the Atlanta and Daytona tracks. So there's certainly 5 outliers out there. Plus we got some guys that haven't won this year, like Kevin Harvick, like Chase Elliott. Who could find their way across the line. So Martin Truex Jr., though, I do think right now he is starting to show himself a little bit as a class of the field.
Yeah, no, Martin's definitely stepping up. And let's talk about the points for a second with that Chase Elliott move. You don't see him on the front page here, and you don't see him on the cut line page because, remember, Chase has missed so many races this year. But let's talk about, can Chase Elliott point his way in? There's the, you're seeing the graphic now with where the cut line is. And this cut line, we've talked, Jeff, it is a bloodbath. I mean, if you look at the drivers, the teams, the numbers there. But remember, Chase Elliott, all the way down right now in 25th, 289 points. He's only 64 points out of pointing his way in. With the 3 road courses like we named, I think Chase Elliott does not need to win a race now.
I would agree with you. He doesn't need to win a race. But also part of this is going to depend on how does Alex Bowman race? How does Daniel Suarez race? Because it's one thing for Chase Elliott to go out and finish 4th like he did at Nashville and made up a bunch of points last week. But if Alex Bowman and Daniel Suarez go out and run 7th and 8th and Chase Elliott's running 4th, well, he's not going to make up as much ground on those guys that he's trying to catch.
Well, and let's talk about guys that are not even – we're talking about that Austin Dillon had a huge penalty earlier this year. So he's way down in the points because he had the big penalty. Austin can win a race and – Daytona and Talladega very well. I mean,
and that's when I was joking about the start-finish line moving. See, if somebody outside the top 16 wins a race, well, suddenly Chase Elliott's finish line moved farther away.
Moves further away, absolutely. So, you look at this. There's Austin Dillon that hasn't won that's out there. There's still Chase Elliott that hasn't won that's out there. You've got Michael McDowell that we talked about with all these road courses, how well he's doing. A.J. Allmendinger, who hasn't won with all these road courses. You have, Ty Gibbs, who's quietly having a very, very nice rookie season, sitting just outside the cut line. You got Daniel Suarez, who's outside the cut line. You have big names and big teams and big drivers that can get them so that there's a lot of This line is going to be nasty coming down the stretch.
And you mentioned the 64 points. All right, look at the standings up there right now. Let's just go off the points for this week, okay?
Yep.
And forget what points are going to get at Chicago. If A.J. Allmendinger won at Chicago,
that moves the cut
then
line
Chase
down.
Elliott goes from 64 points back to 92 points back because the guy in 15th, Bubba Wallace,
30
would
more
fall
points.
to 16th, and that's 92 points difference. So I think that's where you can't just say, oh, Chase Elliott has 64 points to make up. He could run well and still have that number change on him in the wrong direction. So that's why it's going to be tough. All right, let's take a quick look at our upcoming schedule. We talked about this week. We're really excited about going to Chicago. Then we're going to go to Atlanta, second time this year. First track we're visiting for the second time. And then we'll head up to Loudon, New Hampshire, Pocono, and then the short track at Richmond, Virginia. That'll be the second track we're visiting for the second time. So pretty exciting schedule coming up. But, Brendan, I'm fired up for this week.
I'm one of those guys. I talked to Moody this week, and I've never been a guy that, whether it's good, and we've been together a long time, doing media tours, we've done all these things. I'm a guy when it comes to this sport, Jeff, that says, I don't care if I like it or dislike it. We're going to see what it is and play it out. When the chase started, the sprint for the cup started in 04. Everybody poo-pooed the idea, everybody this and that, and I said, timeout. I don't know if it's good or bad. I can have my druthers of what I think, but let's play it out. And it turned out to be the start of what I think is one of the greatest playoff formats in all sport. Then we went to the new car, the next gen car. Okay?
Yeah, one didn't go quite as well.
It didn't go quite as well. But NASCAR made a quick reboot and changed it. So I'm never a guy that says, oh, I hate this before you started it, or I loved it before it started. Because you're not giving it a fair account. I can say whether I liked something. I liked the next gen car. It had a wing. I thought these things were great. It turned out to be a bust. I loved the chase for the Sprint Cup and still loved it to this day. So, it's one of those things where this race, I think this car in particular, makes this feasible.
Well, I think you look at the last 5 years and some of the really cool things NASCAR has tried, whether it's going to Austin, going to Road America,
Absolutely.
running at the LA Coliseum, running a race on dirt, going basically
Bristol dirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Running in the Iowa cornfield, if you will, in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, So they've been able to take some risks, take some chances. This is another risk, but it's also a great opportunity.
You're in downtown Chicago, man. Come on. If they don't play Blues Brothers have to join-ins on NBC, I'm going to be mad.
Well, I actually think the Bluesmobile should be the pace car. That's my thought. So, the fastest thing since Jake and Elwood.
I'm calling O'Donnell.
All right, we'll be back on Gone Racing. We're going to show you the course layout and start giving you the odds.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
All right, here we are back here at the South Point Hotel Casino, our lovely VSiN studios, talking all things to Chicago street race. Brendan, you know where you and I really dropped the ball. We really, really should have dressed up like Jake and Elwood for the show today.
I am such a Blues Brothers fan. Like since I was, it came out before I was, I watched it. But Carrie Fisher, the original Blues Brothers, the chase scene. By the way, part of these roads are in the famous chase scene that are in Grant Park. I mean, they go right through Grant Park.
They're going to be racing around Grant Park. The Buckingham Fountain is in the middle of the course. The Bean is going to be just on the north side of the course.
You go back and watch the famous Blues Brothers car chase scene through Chicago, and it's right here.
Right here. So here's a look at the course. And Brendan, I know obviously no one has ever raced on this course. So we got a lot of tight corners. We've got a couple of fairly lengthy straightaways.
I've talked to some people about the course. It is very tight. And that is very different.
Rough. I'm hearing because they did not repave the streets unlike we're doing here for Formula One.
No grip. I was told extremely low grip, lower than Sonoma, which if that's possible, I didn't know it was. And very tight on the corners. What I see out of this, though, is if you look at this track map, long straightaway, corner, long straightaway, corner, long straightaway, corner. There's many passing zones here because remember, a corner is where the only place you're going to pass. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 6 legit passing zones, which is a lot of passing for a road course.
I think the area from turn 2 to turn 5. Because turn 3 and turn 4 are really just like a curve. Yeah. To me, that is where you're really, really going to need to make some hay in that 4 and 5. You're going to have to do something there. You're going to have
to keep your momentum through 4 and 5 to be able to pass when you get to turn 6, I believe is what that is. So my thing about this is I see passing opportunities, but it's going to have to be old school, risky, stick your nose in, be there, and force your way. And if you look, 3 of the opportunities are the same turn corners. So that means if you get the inside 6, you have the inside for 7, which is where you want to be. It's going to be old school road coursing. And to me, we don't have a lot of data points on this. NASCAR doesn't, we're picking this. Let's start prefacing this now, Jeff.
We're picking this on Thursday.
We haven't seen a practice lap.
Right.
We haven't seen anything except the entry list. So guys, what we're going to do today, way early in this gig.
No one put your money down till qualifying is over.
And we unfortunately had to put our money down on Thursday. But
We're going to tell everybody how smart or how dumb we are
That's
when
right.
it's all over.
But what I see is there are names in this field that when we're going to get to the odds here in a second, that I'm going to look at traditional guys that have raced at a Long Beach, guys that have raced at a Belle Isle, guys that have raced at these street courses somewhere, Austin Cindric,
AJ
Allmendinger. You named a name that NASCAR fans are going to have no clue who he is. But there's going to be some. I might actually put money on a Jensen Button this weekend in Rick Ware car because he is so knowledgeable about street racing.
Right, and the guy you met, Shane Van Gisbergen, who is from New Zealand.
You notice that? Hey, did you hear that little?
Well, I had to MC his press conference at Nashville, so I got the pronunciation right. Shane Van Gisbergen. That's pretty good. He's Australian. He's from New Zealand.
Oh, wow. He's gonna hate you.
I know
now.
the guy, man. He's from New Zealand, but he's raced the V8 supercars down there, which most Americans know. Marcus Ambrose, a very successful racer down there.
To the NASCAR fan in America, the closest thing you have anywhere in the world to a stock car, and honestly,
a cup car,
one of the baddest to the bone race cars in the world is a V8 supercar, muscle car, big heavy car, big motor. It's bad to the bone racing. And I used to talk to Marcus about going down to Australia and racing one because I want to do it one day. But if he comes from V8 supercars, that puts him in a category that I like.
And I think with the simulators and everything else now, I mean, he's obviously going to get, a feel of what it is. And guess what? He's got as much time on that racetrack as everybody else is going to have.
Absolutely.
And one other interesting rule that NASCAR passed this week, no one racing in the Cup race is allowed to race the Xfinity race on Saturday, so no one's going to get any extra laps. So it's going to be exciting. I think this course layout reminds me a little bit of Watkins Glen, maybe because of the bus stop in the back, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out, but we've got to get to our odds here,
Yes,
Brendan. So our odds to win and our favorite this week, I'm actually a little bit surprised, but Chase Elliott is coming in at a plus 500 as our favorite. Then Tyler Reddick and Martin Truex Jr., the hottest man in NASCAR, at plus 650. Kyle Larson's plus 750. AJ Allmendinger plus 900. Kyle Busch 10-1. William Byron 11-1. Ross Chastain 12-1. And then the numbers get much bigger. Chris Buescher at 20. Daniel Suarez, Christopher Bell at 25. Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric at 28. Joey Logano, who always seems to win the first race anytime we go anywhere, although he didn't win at North Wilkesboro. He and Denny Hamlin are 30-1, and Alex Bowman 40-1.
Well, look, I start off with let's talk about the Joey Logano thing. Won the inaugural Coliseum race.
And he won the first dirt race at Bristol.
Won the dirt race at Bristol. And we said he had no dirt experience. We on this show, we're like, oh, we didn't even talk about Joey Logano.
He didn't win the first COTA race, and he didn't win the first North Wilkesboro, so he didn't win them all.
But if you go back to even back in the Kentucky, I think he won Kentucky the year it came out. I think Joey Logano's a guy that knows how to win at these new tracks. So I do like the Joey Logano, but I said I'm going to focus on guys that have traditional road race experience. Let's start on this page. Michael McDowell, 28-1. Austin Cindric, 28-1. Daniel Suarez, 25-1. These are big, long odds, and the Dinger at plus 900. I get that Chase Elliott is a favorite at plus 500. I get it just because maybe we talk about what he did a couple years ago. But I think that's way overrated, and so I am going to fade Chase on a win here. But, man, I do like the Dinger at 900. That's a great return. Ross Chastain, remember what he did at COTA? Remember how well he's run at that place? There are big numbers here. I'm so far in the lead, I could just pick winners and see if I can even pull away further.
And at the risk of you disagree with me, you're the guy that's been a professional race car driver. Clearly, I have not. But I do not compare this track really to any road course because there's one thing it does not have. No runoff. If you make a mistake here, you've hit a wall or you've hit a tire barrier. You've not kicked up some dust at Sonoma or those big, huge runoffs that we have at Indy and the Roval.
How many years have I yelled at you about NASCArizing these road courses? What I say about Watkins Glen and Sonoma and why I love Road America so much is the NASCArizing the tracks I hate. Now, Road America has a penalty for missing. Huge curbs, dirt, grass, gravel pit, nasty stuff. Sonoma, Watkins Glen, they've gotten rid of those. You can blow turn
run
one
off.
by
You got
two.
asphalt out there.
You can blow turn one by
trucking.
a mile, and you pass three people. This is the nth degree of road racing. This is where if you miss a shift going into a corner and wheel hop, you are hitting a wall and ending your day. So that's why, to me, I like some of these names that maybe you wouldn't normally talk about. Maybe you're in equipment, a la Shane Van
Gisbergen.
Jensen
Gisbergen.
Button,
Can you
who are
do
in
that?
some of these cars that maybe are lesser teams that we're not used to, but they're not going to make those mistakes. That's what I like. I mean, I've raced Long Beach. I've raced street courses. It is a different animal. If you know what you're doing, it will be a huge advantage.
Taking care of your car. Okay, our long shots, and it's interesting to see some of these names on the long shot list, if you will. But Ryan Blaney coming off a horrible crash at Nashville last week, along with Kevin Harvick at 45-1. Ty Gibbs is 50. That man, Shane Van Gisbergen, I just like saying his name, 55-1. Chase Briscoe, Brad Keselowski at 65. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Bubba Wallace at 80. Todd Gilliland, Ryan Preece, Noah Gregson, Justin Haley, Jensen Button making a return this week. Harrison Burton, Eric Jones, Corey LaJoy, all at 100-1. Anybody off this page? I guess anybody can.
Listen, I want to get to the top threes because Jensen Button for a top three, Shane Van Gisbergen, 55-1, 100-1. Okay, I like it. But top three is a little more legit, maybe, let's say. And if they're 100-1 here and 55-1 here, what are they going to be for the top threes?
Well, we are about to find out. So let's take a quick look at our top threes here. No big surprise here that we have Chase Elliott at plus 140, Tyler Reddick and Martin Truex Jr. plus 185, Kyle Larson's a plus 210, Allmendinger 250, Kyle Busch 260, Byron 300, Chastain 330, Buescher 600, Suarez and Bell 700, McDowell and Cindric 750, Logano and Hamlin at 8, Alex Bowman at 9.
Decent returns on the guys I was mentioned. Cindric at 750 and a McDowell 750. Dinger at 250. Man, they took that just lower than I really want. I'd rather
like to see that at 300.
I'd rather pick him to win basically at the 900 than the 250. But the next page, Motley, is the one that I think is.
All right, we'll take a quick look there. Also, Blaney and Harvick both are coming in at a plus 900. Ty Gibbs at 10-1. Van Gisbergen at 11-1. Briscoe and Keselowski 16. Stenhouse and Wallace at 22, and a whole bunch of guys at 28.
And in that whole bunch of guys is Jensen Button. I got to tell you, Jensen Button, it's a Rick Ware car. I don't think it may be a little bit more than a Rick Ware car.
Is this going to be a Roush engine? Is it going to be a Penske? They're a Ford team.
They're a Ford team now. So I mean, I think it'll have a little bit more under the hood. I think it'll have a little bit, maybe it's going to come from a different shop. You know how those things work some days that we don't always know. But I like the Van Gisbergen angle. I like the Jensen Button angle. Those are big returns on guys that have so much experience. I think it'll come into play.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting because I won't be shocked to see somebody who surprises the heck out of us. So, okay, we come back. We'll start getting our head-to-heads and our group matchups.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
Want to rewatch any part of today's show or any past show? Check out the Gone Racing podcast. It's free and available now at VSiN.com/podcast or wherever you get your podcast. We give you all the latest news, odds, and everything you need to know heading to the betting counter before each NASCAR Cup Series race. And while you're there, catch up on all the other VSiN shows as well. That's VSiN.com/podcast. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jake. This is Elwood. We're talking about Chicago this weekend. Not really. This is Jeff, and that's Brendan.
I think we're both more Jake than we are Elwood.
Well,
but,
this is probably true. Yeah. Jake was Belushi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joliet Jake.
Yeah. I might have used to had Aykroyd's figure, but I don't anymore. So, yeah, you and I probably are both John Belushi these days. But except we're live.
I'm down 30.
We are live, so that's good. You're down 30?
Yeah, 30. So take it.
Wow. Jeez. Just exercising?
Just exercising.
I thought they said you lose more in the kitchen than you do in the gym. Wow. I'm impressed. That's good. All right. I got to get notes from Brendan after the show on weight loss, I believe. So, okay, let's talk about our head-to-head matchups as we head to Chicago, the street race. Not to be confused with Chicagoland Speedway, everybody. That was a
or
track
Chicago Motor.
Or Chicago Motor Speedway, which I actually was at that track one time.
That one?
So I remember going there. They were filming that movie Driven or something like that, I believe. Stallone was there that day. Met all kinds of interesting people that day. Richard Dent was there. Robin Yount was there. Chris and I went up to meet with Robbie Rahal about bringing a kart race to Vegas. It was like, what was it, like 2000 or 2001 or somewhere?
I was not full-time, 01.
You were racing because Kyle Busch, I think, had to rode the plane back. He was racing. He was like 16 years old before they made him get out of the truck when they went to Fontana. So,
That was 01.
long time ago. So, okay, let's get back to our head-to-heads here.
A lot of Chase Elliott love.
A lot of Chase Elliott love, which makes me want to bet against Chase Elliott almost here.
But Ross Chastain, 125 to minus 145. I mean, look, Chastain's proven himself to be a pretty decent little road racer, and Chastain has he's riding high, right? I mean, the kid just came off of another win. He's finally got himself, they're not talking about, you're not talking about, might be a record for Ross. It's been, 4 or 5 races since we've heard Ross Chastain being a schmuck. So now he's got a win. He's kind of pitching some of that to the wayside. You head here where you can root people out here, and it's not going to really piss anybody off.
Well, and you probably weren't able to catch all of Ross Chastain's post-race press conference. I had actually sit through all 30 minutes of it last Sunday night. He made an interesting point. He said that he had spoken with a number of drivers. Truex, Hamlin were a couple of drivers he had talked to, and they had kind of given him a little bit, okay, look, when somebody is really faster than you are, unless you're racing for the stage win or you're racing for the race win, show some courtesy, and I'll bet you those guys will show you that courtesy back. And he talked about how at the end of the second stage, how hard Truex raced him, but he said that was at the end of the stage. But he said everything that they said would happen on the racetrack happened. I raced those guys with respect. Those guys raced me with respect. I mean, Truex had a shot at him there probably with about 8 or 10 laps to go. Gave it his best, but I think everybody knows Martin Truex Jr. He's not going to put a fender on anybody. He just doesn't race that way.
Had he not had that conversation and this was still the Ross Chastain that everybody still mad at, even Martin Truex would have gone up there and dumped him. So there's the difference is he had the talk. All right, I'll give you the leeway here on this talk. Let's see if you honor it. I'll honor it to you if you honor it to me. And they did, and hopefully Ross learned from it because that'd be a bonus. But 125 versus Chase, I like that.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's probably
head-to-head.
I like that one. I think the other one maybe that I really kind of like up there is, and I really don't know why, I kind of like Christopher Bell, the plus 120 against Kyle Busch. I get this.
He won Daytona.
Christopher Bell just. He's, I don't know. He's a young guy who these kind of things just seem to come naturally for him. So I kind of like that one too. But I'm with you. I really like Ross Chastain against Chase Elliott. All right, let's start getting into our group matchups here. And I'm just going to tell all the folks here, the group matchups this week are really hard to pick. At least they're going to be really hard to pick until qualifying is over on Saturday. So Brendan and I are going to do our best here. So Group A, Chase Elliott's the favorite. Tyler Reddick, who's shown great prowess on the road courses, plus 275. Martin Truex Jr., who won at Sonoma and is the hottest guy right now at plus 280. Kyle Larson at plus 285.
Yeah, I mean, Hendrick, Toyota. This is a battle of road course titans here, right? I mean, I think that's every road course win just about, except for Ross Chastain in the last few races. Very tough to pick this one, especially before qualifying, especially before practice, especially before knowing anything about what's going to happen. So I am really, really not comfortable picking Group A because I got to see what's going on, so I can't touch it.
I'm with you, boy. Group A, I think my gut right here tells me I just love how hot Truex has been. Sure. I don't like Elliott. I really don't. He hasn't done anything yet this year.
I've been saying, remember, I might keep picking Chase Elliott every week because he's going to win one of these. So, I mean, I could keep with my trend and say I'm going to pick Chase Elliott just because I think he's going to win one here soon. But
I kind of think this group's going to come down to Truex and Reddick. I really do. But it's just my thought. All right, Group B, our co-favorites there, Ross Chastain and A.J. Allmendinger, 255. Kyle Busch is plus 270. And Chris Buescher, oh my goodness, I thought we'd certainly get him at least Group C or Group D. He's a plus 310, a big number, but man, you're going to pick him against Ross Chastain and A.J. Allmendinger?
There's a reason why he's in Group B. Last 10 road course races, 8 top 10s, average finish 8.1.
This ain't a road course.
Last 10 left and right turn courses in NASCAR. 8 top 10s in the last 10 races. Jeff Motley, we have talked about this. The silent assassin on road courses has been Chris Buescher. So he absolutely deserves to be in Group B. But that really pisses me off.
But that's what I was saying. I was hoping not to have him in Group B.
Because you put him against Ross Chastain, the guy A.J. Allmendinger we've talked about, Kyle Busch, it's like, doggone it. I mean, Kyle Busch average finish 16-1 last 10. Chris Buescher average finish 8. So
See, the guy I really like here is Allmendinger. I just hope he has the car that's going to do it.
I think Colleague has the car.
I think he's the driver. I think could be the car. We'll see. All right, let's take a look
Booster, though. Come on, how do they put our man? That kills us.
I know.
That's my ticket
It will
cashing
pain-
machine.
it will
He's the
pain me.
ATM machine for Gone Racin.
Well, it will pain me not to pick him this week. All right, Group C, William Byron is our favorite there at plus 240. Christopher Bell is a 255. Michael McDowell plus 290. Denny Hamlin plus 310. That's a big number on Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a stat here for Denny Hamlin. Okay. Well, Denny Hamlin, last 10 road course races. I know. It's not a road course.
Well, and Sonoma, he was running great at Sonoma, and he made that driving blunder by smacking of all walls, the turn 12 wall.
The only top 5 he has had in the last 10 races was Charlotte road course in 2021. He has been awful. No top 10s, 1 top 5. Had the pole at Sonoma, finished 36 from a mistake. So that's why Denny Hamlin is the dog in this group, and apparently rightfully so. You pointed out, the Christopher Bell thing, how he runs well everywhere. I get that also. McDowell is statistically leader in the clubhouse. McDowell has the best average finish, the most top 5s, most top 10s of anybody in this group. So that leads me to, Seabell, the only difference is he's got the 1 win at Daytona. But other than that, McDowell statistically is the best driver in the group.
See, my thing with Denny Hamlin, and I look back at the Sonoma thing with him qualifying on the pole, Denny Hamlin is really good on road courses when there's nobody else out there. He doesn't race well, but he's really good at getting around the track. He usually tends to qualify well. I think qualifying is going to be so important in this race that I think that Denny Hamlin, I think at plus 310 at that number.
A lot of juice left in there for a 310 on a guy like Denny Hamlin. So I get where you're going. Me personally, I like the 2 mids there. I like the 290 at McDowell. It's got enough enticement to get me there. And I like Seabell at 255, just, based off of what I saw him at Daytona the 1 year. So, I mean, I'm in the middle of the road.
Well, one other good thing for Denny Hamlin is I don't think that he's going to have to worry about any yellow flag pit stops where you can lose 15 spots on pit road. I think everybody will want to pit under green on this track. And if you lose a second under green, that's not nearly as bad as losing a second under yellow. A second under yellow is 15 spots. A second under green might be 1 or 2 spots on the racetrack. So, all right, let's take a look at Group D here. Austin Cindric's our favorite at plus 220. Daniel Suarez, 270. Ryan Blaney, plus 305, along with his teammate, Joey Logano, plus 305 in Group D. Blaney and Logano, 305s in Group D.
Yeah, well, once again, I started off the show talking about what old Joey Logano does at these new tracks. You put him as the dog. The only fear I have there is, look, I was super high on Daniel Suarez. I think the last 2 years I was like, Daniel Suarez, great road racer. And I think he's blown more transmission than I blew in my career in the last 5 or 6 road races. So I am off the Suarez bandwagon. Now, he's got 1 win, 3 top 5s in the last 10 on road courses. But in the other ones, it's 27, 27, 36, 28, 24, 37, blown transmission. It's like, dang. So, I mean, he's either feast or famine, so to speak. But Joey Logano, man, at the new tracks. Joey Logano's.
Well, and Ryan Blaney's been a guy that's been good on road courses.
Cindric,
too,
I talked about Cindric. I mean,
this is a tough group here to pick. Because I think it's one where you can make an argument for everybody, and the old can't make an argument for the others. Okay, we come back. We'll have our final segment. We'll finish up our groups, and we'll give you our picks for Chicago.
This is Gone Racing, VSiN's premier NASCAR betting podcast. Here are your hosts, former NASCAR driver Brendan Gaughan and Las Vegas Motor Speedway's Jeff Motley.
And we get the white flag with 1 segment to go. I was expecting the green flag and then the white flag with 1 minute to go.
No,
but we get the white flag. It's a 4-lap race.
That's too much counting for me to figure out.
But
listen, as bad as they are with giving us countdowns, let's just start with the white flag last segment.
I'm with my Earl Ross nugget for you here. That is 4-lap race. That is 3 laps longer than the first ever race that was ever held, which was actually held in Chicago in 1895. It was a 1-lap race. Average speed 7 miles per hour. I want you to know that's a true story. Go look it up. They raced from downtown Chicago to Evanston, Illinois, and back. They had to avoid dead horses on the course, people walking out into the road. There were only 6 cars in the race. It's a true story. Go look it up. First race ever.
1895. I thought cars were invented later than that.
I was thinking that he's full of crap because I don't think there was cars in 1895. Second, wouldn't that be called like a cannonball run running on like county roads?
Well, yeah, pretty much was. But I'm telling you, it's a true story. Go look it up. Go look it up. 1895. Yep. There were more horse-drawn carriages. There were not many cars, but there were 6 cars in the race. Average speed 7 miles per hour. It was a very small.
Isaiah just got in my ear and said 1866 was when cars were first invented.
Okay, well,
I
there you
don't
go.
believe this stat at all.
Well, 1895, there was a race in Chicago.
Okay.
So anyway, all right, we're getting to finish up
right.
our group matchups here. Group E, Kevin Harvick, major favorite at plus 180, Ty Gibbs plus 210, and some big numbers on some pretty big drivers. Alex Bowman plus 300, and Brad Keselowski plus 365. I think once or twice, Brendan, we might have seen a plus 400 or something on a group, but this is a very, very big number.
I'm too busy looking up the automobile right now.
Well, you can look that up when the show's over. But
Sorry. No, so we were talking off air. That entice, right? We talk about a book enticing us to bet somewhere. Well, you're enticing us. You've got Kevin Harvick at plus 1. Look at the spread. Plus 180 to plus 365. Why Kevin Harvick is the favorite at that 180, I'm not 1,000% sure of. To me
either. That's why I'm not picking him.
I mean, Harvick is 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, average finish 14. Alex Bowman, 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, average finish 13.4. Okay, so I like Alex Bowman on the numbers. You and I think the wild card here is Ty Gibbs because it's done so well in the Xfinity Series and road course stuff. But who's been cashing more tickets for me lately than even Chris Buescher? His teammate Brad Keselowski. He's 365. Brad used to be a hell of a road racer. Remember Marcus Ambrose and him having that amazing battle?
The other thing I love about Keselowski is he has a great attitude to new things. Like, he's like, bring it on. Let's give it a try.
Brad comes in with the right attitude at this sort of thing, and that's a big deal. So I kind of like that 365. I think they're enticing me with a big enough number to say I could do Brad.
Yeah, I like that too. All right, let's take a look at Group F. Chase Briscoe's our favorite at plus 215. Then the numbers get pretty big. Todd Gilliland at 280. Eric Jones coming off the top 10 last week at Nashville at plus 285. And another guy with a big number who is almost worth looking at, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., plus 325.
Yeah, but I think I talked for Sonoma that Ricky hadn't had a top 10 like ever in a road course, and he got one at Sonoma, which was or at Coda.
So you gave him the reverse jinx, or whatever that's called.
But I just right now, if I'm picking a guy without looking at stats, Chase Briscoe is probably the most accomplished road racer in that group. Chase Briscoe came from a lot of different road racing background over at Roush. He'd been there a long time doing some road racing, so I kind of lean towards the Briscoe thing. Gilliland. No, I mean, look, he's pretty scrappy, right? He's got a lot of West Coast road racing experience in him. But if I got everybody, I do like the favorite there at 215.
Yep, probably going to stay away from that group. All right, let's take a quick look at our manufacturer odds this week. Chevy's coming in at minus 120, Toyota at plus 200, and Ford coming in at plus 380. I tell you, like the Toyotas this week at plus 200. I think with you got a lot of guys. Truex out there, Reddick out there, Bell, Denny Hamlin. I just think that there's an opportunity for the Toyotas out there. So I kind of like Toyota there at plus 200.
Yeah, so do I. I do like the plus 200. The Ford number. I mean, Joey Logano, the jokes we're making, but Joey Logano kind of is only one. Ryan Blaney maybe. So I do like. Oh, unless I get a Jensen Button, with his plus 100 to 1 to win, but. I do like the plus 200 on Toyota.
All right, let's take a quick look at our season championship. The guy who
let's look at that.
The guy who is fading fast now is Chase Elliott. He is all the way down to a plus 900. And the problem with Chase Elliott right now is even if he can get his way in, if he points his way in, he's going to get in with no playoff points. And I think that's going to.
But plus 900. That's
right.
You got to look at where's the value at right now. Tyler Reddick has dropped back to 20 to 1. I think that is another golden opportunity right there of guys that have gone the right way. Ross Chastain stayed at 12, so I think that's still a steal. I think Ross will continue to go down as this goes on. So there's still some good numbers out there.
I still think getting Martin Truex Jr. at plus 700 is a good number.
Probably a good number. Yep.
So certainly, those numbers are not. Only way you're going to see a gigantic move right now is if someone who's got a big number ends up picking up a win. I don't think we're going to see a ton of.
Let's get to our championship.
I know
standings,
you've been
Let's get to our
excited to talk
championship
about how well we did or how poorly we did last week. We will not talk about my picks. Ryan Blaney trying to knock down the inside wall in turn 1 certainly put me behind the 8 ball for the entire day. Pit Crew did eke one out there with Martin Truex Jr. winning Group A. So they did get one win. But
Did I eke one out?
Brendan, you also had the Truex pick. You also had Chastain. I mean, if you'd been really smart, you'd pick Chastain to win instead of just winning Group B.
I'll take my 280.
And then you hooked your wagon to Brad Keselowski. I mean, you basically just said, take that, Pit Crew, and your lead is pretty much insurmountable now. You have a
Whoa. Listen, I never say I'm a sports guy. It's never over till it's over.
well.
I was going to give you props. Last year was a struggle. This year, what a great turnaround.
I'm just saying.
Somehow I will try to take like a 50-1 guy at Daytona and see if I can make up ground on Brendan.
You can do it here.
But the good news is the pit crew's catching Jeff.
Oh,
We're only 5 laps down.
Well, the gap did
That's
close
right.
this past
18
week.
points now.
They gained 5.1 points because they gained 0.1 point last week.
That's right.
So it's kind of like I'm gaining on the Pit Crew, really going the other direction is really more like it.
So who picks first again? Oh, that's right.
Well, we do know who picks first.
So
That's for sure.
so we're gonna pick Brad Keselowski to win the Atlanta Motors. Oh, that's next week. Sorry. All right. Preview next week. All right. For the pit crew this week, we're gonna be high on Ross Chastain, top 3 plus 330, and we like the number against Chase Elliott at plus 125. Tyler Reddick to win Group A at plus 275. He should have won his group last week, but that was a tough loss for us. Michael McDowell to win Group C.
He should have won his group last week. He was out at the beginning of the second stage.
He was top 5 the entire time. If they can tighten one lug nut, it would have been perfect.
Well, they only had one.
Yeah, I know. They screwed up the one. And Michael McDowell to win Group C at plus 290. And you've been high on Todd Gilliland sometimes for these races we go left and right. So we picked him Group F plus 280.
One of those road course guys. A lot of road course ringers there for those guys. All right, my picks. I'm going to, well, here comes the kiss of death because I have a sneak peek of Brendan's picks too, but Ross Chastain over Chase Elliott. Everybody seems to like Ross Chastain over Chase Elliott.
Guarantees us that Chase Elliott will absolutely
He's
beat
probably
him.
going to win the race.
Yeah.
Or he's going to finish second and Ross is going to finish third.
Yep.
And then my other picks, I'm going to go into the groups. I am going to go with A.J. Allmendinger in Group B. That plus 310 on Denny Hamlin in Group C. The plus 365 on Brad Keselowski in Group E. And I am going to jump on the Toyota bandwagon this week. I like Toyota at plus 200.
All right. Well, I am going to take a little bit different approach here because not because
you can.
Not because
Say
I can,
it.
because I think that I think these are good picks. I'm going off of what I started the show with, guys with experience. I'm starting with the dinger to win, right? A.J. Allmendinger, he's plus 900. I think that this is his way to get into the playoffs. I think he kind of has this circled. I think he qualifies well. I like what Collett has. I like their motors, like their package. I'm going him. I'm taking Austin Cindric in group for top 3. I like what I see from Cindric, and I'm going to go. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Shane Van Gisbergen for a top 3. V8 supercars. Come on, my guys from down under, my Kiwi, let's go. I will not call you an Aussie. I know the difference, unlike Jeff Motley. So I'm going Shane Van Gisbergen for the top 3. I'm going to keep the head-to-head, as we said. Chase, Ross Chastain 125 and a head-to-head. Way too much of an opportunity there. And I'm going to finish it off with Brad Keselowski. I'm sorry. Big Brad, 365, got me 380 last week. Going to give me another.
So we all 3 agree on Chastain over Elliott. You and I are together on Keselowski to win his group.
You're welcome for not picking Brad, because if we had 2 kiss of deaths there, that would just been
that would
tough
have
pill
been
to swallow.
That would have been rough. All right, we got about 35 seconds left in the show. You excited for this week at Chicago? You kind of. I just think it's great for the sport that we're going to be racing.
No. I do think it's great for the sport. I love the Blues Brothers references. And by the way, the first steam-powered vehicle was 1672, Jesuit mission in China. And going from steam-powered, it was 1865.
The race was right. The race was right that he talked. It was like the Chicago Tribune race.
The Chicago Tribune sponsored the race. Again, they had 12 entries. Only 6 cars showed up. Sounds like the Belmont Stakes. So, anyway, okay, we'll be back next week. We'll break down the race in Chicago, and then I think we're going to Atlanta.
Raw.